Would you trade your happiest memory to save someone you love? Not just forget a moment but cut it out of your soul forever as if it never happened? I didn't know the price yet. I only knew that my brother Kael was fading into a gray shadow and our village was dying with him. The elders told me to accept the end, calling the sunken city a myth and a death wish. But I found a map through the whispering wastes, a place where the wind screams and no one returns. They said I was walking to my grave, yet watching Kael suffer was the real nightmare. And while I knew the journey might kill me, I never imagined that saving him would hurt more than dying. The dust didn't just cover the world outside. It coated everything inside our hut. It settled in the deep lines of my hands and turned the sky a sickly pale gray. But the silence was worse. It wasn't peaceful. It was heavy, thick, and waiting for the inevitable. I looked at my brother Kael. He lay on his cot in the corner of the room. He was a grown man, strong and tall just a year ago. He used to lift heavy sacks of grain as if they were feathers. Now he looked like a shadow of himself. His skin was gray like the dry earth outside. His breathing was the only sound that mattered to me. It was a thin, scratchy noise. Every breath was a struggle. I sat by his side and counted the seconds between each rise of his chest. 1, 2, 3. A shallow gasp. Then silence again. I held my own breath until he took another. Our village, the Hollows, was dying. The river that once flowed with clear, cool water was gone. It was just a scar of cracked mud now. The wind did not sing through the trees anymore because the trees were bare skeletons. The wind only scraped grit across the ground. It hissed and moaned around the corners of our home. The village elders said we had to accept this. They were old and tired. They sat by the dry town well, their voices low and dusty. They spoke of a peaceful end. They said the land was resting and we should rest with it. But I could not rest. Not while Kael was still fighting. I remembered his laugh. It was a big booming sound that used to make the birds take flight. It was the sound of life. Now that laugh was gone, replaced by this terrible quiet sleep. I had refused to give up. For 3 months, I searched through every corner of our grandfather's old house. I looked through boxes that had not been opened in years. I read through scrolls that fell apart in my fingers. I was looking for a story, a legend, anything that could help. And then I found it. It was hidden inside a hollowed-out book on a high shelf. It was a map drawn on old, cured leather. The ink was faded but the lines were still there. The map showed a path. It went through the whispering wastes, a place no one dared to go. It led to the sunken city. In the center of that city there was a drawing of a star. Underneath the star it said, "The Shard of Renewal." I remembered the feeling when I found it. Hope felt strange, like a foreign language I had suddenly learned to speak. I took the map to the elders that same day. I stood before them in the village square, the hot wind whipping my hair around my face. Elder Maeve looked at the map. Her hands shook as she touched the drawing of the wastes. She pulled her hand back quickly as if the leather had burned her. "This is a fool's hope, Thalia," she said, her voice shaking. "This is a death wish. The sunken city is a myth. It is a story told to frighten us. No one goes there and returns." "The map is real," I argued, my voice loud in the quiet square. "Grandfather kept it for a reason. Kael is dying. We are all dying. If there is a chance, even a small one, shouldn't we take it?" Another elder, a man with eyes clouded by age, shook his head. "It is reckless. You will anger the spirits of the land. You will doom us all with your refusal to accept what is." They did not understand. Their fear was a slow, quiet surrender. They were waiting for the end. But watching Kael fade away was not peaceful. It was like watching a fire burn out, ember by ember. I could not just watch. So I made my choice. I would be the fool they called me. Night had fallen over the village. The moon was hidden behind the dust clouds, making the world pitch black. I moved quietly around the hut. The rustle of my leather pack sounded very loud to me. I packed carefully. I took a water skin filled with the last of our clean water. I took a loaf of hard, dry bread. I packed a flint and steel for making fire. It was not much. It did not look like enough to save a world. But it was all I had. I went to Kael's cot one last time. I pulled his blanket up to his chin. In the faint light I could see the sharp angles of his face. I leaned close, my ear hovering just above his lips. I waited for that next precious breath. Came a tiny fluttering thing. "I will come back," I whispered to him, though I knew he could not hear me. "I will bring the light back to your eyes, brother." I stood up and slung the pack over my shoulder. I did not look back. I slipped out the door and into the suffocating silence of the night. The map called this place the Whispering Waste, but that was a lie. The wind didn't whisper. it screamed. A high, thin shriek that vibrated in my teeth and pushed against me physically, trying to knock me down with every step. It stole the warmth from my cloak and the moisture from my skin. Every step crunched on the dry earth like breaking bones. The wind wasn't just air here, it was a weapon. It carried sand that stung my face and moaned with 1,000 sad voices, whispering for me to give up, to lie down and let the dust win. I ignored the hallucinations, shimmering blue pools and phantom green trees that vanished upon approach. I focused only on the pain in my legs to keep me grounded. Then the horizon turned black. A storm was rising. The wall of sand was higher than a mountain. It hit me with the force of a giant's hand. I fell to my knees, covering my head with my cloak. The sand buried me. I lay there in the dark, listening to the roar of the wind. I thought about staying there. It would be so easy to just stop moving. But then in the dark of my mind I heard Kael's breathing. A tired sigh. If I stopped, his breathing would stop. That thought was sharper than the wind. I pushed myself up. I shook the sand from my cloak. I forced one foot in front of the other. And then another. I walked until the howling stopped. It ended so suddenly that I stumbled forward. My ears rang in the sudden quiet. I looked up. The air in front of me seemed to shimmer. It was thick and gray. Through the haze I saw tall stone structures. They were not like our huts. They were giant towers of smooth, dark stone. Some had fallen, but others stood tall, defying the wind. This was the sunken city. A figure stood at the entrance. She was tall and still, like a statue carved from gray rock. Her face was calm and her eyes were deep and dark, like the night sky without stars. She did not look dangerous, but she looked powerful. This was the guardian. She did not speak with her mouth. Her voice appeared inside my mind. It was clear and cool. "Another child of desperation," the voice said. "You come looking for a miracle you do not understand." I jumped. My hand went to the pouch where I kept the map. Fear shot through me. I had expected a monster to fight. I had a knife in my belt, but I knew a knife would be useless against her. "I come for the shard of renewal," I said. My voice was rough and dry from the desert air. "They all do," the guardian replied. Her name I suddenly knew was Lyra. She looked at me with heavy eyes. "Warriors come with swords. Beggars come with tears. They all believe their pain grants them entitlement to the shard. But the land owes you nothing, traveler. Why should I let you pass when stronger souls have already become dust in these ruins?" I trembled. The fear was still there. But anger rose up to meet it. I was not angry at her. I was angry at the sickness. I was angry at the dust. I was angry at the despair that had almost taken my brother from me. I lifted my chin and looked into her ancient eyes. "I am not here to take a right," I said. My voice grew stronger. "I am here to beg for a chance. My brother is fading away. Our land is dying with him. My people stare at the sky and wait for rain that never comes. They have forgotten how to hope. But I have not." I took a step forward. "I am not a warrior. I have no great power. All I have is the memory of my brother's laugh. I believe I can hear it again. If my love is not enough, then nothing is enough. Let the wastes take me if you must. But I will not turn back." I stood there, breathing hard. My heart hammered against my ribs like a drum. Lyra watched me. Her face did not change. For a long moment the world felt like it was holding its breath. Then slowly she nodded. She stepped aside. Behind her the ground opened up. A dark path led down into the earth. The way was open. I walked past her. The path led deep underground. The air grew cold and heavy. It smelled like wet stone and old time. My footsteps echoed on the stairs. It was a lonely sound. Water dripped from the ceiling somewhere in the dark. Asterisk drip. Drip. Asterisk. It sounded like a clock ticking. I did not need a torch. A low, steady hum vibrated through the floor. It was a sound I could feel in my bones. Pulled me forward. I reached the bottom of the stairs and entered a large cavern. And then I saw it. Resting on a tall pedestal of black rock was the shard of renewal. It was small, no bigger than my fist. But it pulsed with a soft, white light. It looked like a piece of a star that had fallen to earth. It lit up the walls of the cave, making them sparkle. The hum was stronger here. It felt like a song of life. It washed away the pain in my legs and the dust in my throat. Here was the answer. Here was Kael's future. I reached out, my fingers shaking. I wanted to grab it and run. But as my hand got close to the light, Lyra's voice filled my mind again. Asterisk. The shard demands a price, Thalia. Not of gold or of strength. It takes what is most precious to the heart. It requires a memory. One of pure joy. A piece of your soul to mend the world. Asterisk I froze. A memory? Without me trying, a memory flooded into my mind. It was warm and bright. I was a young woman again, just 20 years old. It was the harvest festival years before the drought began. I was sitting on the riverbank with Kael. The sun was golden and hot. The river was full and blue, rushing over smooth stones. Kael was laughing. He was telling a story about a grumpy badger he had seen in the woods. His face was bright with mischief. He looked so healthy. His cheeks were red from the sun. I could taste the sweet berry tart we were sharing. I could feel the cool grass on my legs. We were happy. We were safe. It was a perfect moment. The shard hummed louder. It was waiting. It wanted this memory. It wanted this specific piece of happiness. I understood what it meant. To give the memory meant to lose it forever. I would know that it happened like a fact in a book, but I would not feel it. I would lose the warmth of that sun. I would lose the sound of that specific laugh. A sob caught in my throat. I squeezed my eyes shut. I saw Kael's face as I had left him in the hut. So dying. What was one sunny afternoon compared to his life? What was a memory compared to his future? Take it, I whispered. I opened my heart and pushed the memory toward the light. The shard flared bright, blinding me. A wave of energy rushed out. I felt a sudden sharp emptiness in my chest. It felt like a thread had been pulled out of a tapestry, leaving a hole. A cold ache spread through me. The warmth of the riverbank, the taste of the berries, the sound of Kael's voice in that moment. It all vanished. The light dimmed. The hum stopped. The shard of renewal lay cool and quiet in my hand. I picked it up. It was heavy. I held it tight. I had won, but the victory felt heavy. I started the long walk home, expecting the wind to fight me again. But the shard in my hand was warm now, radiating a gentle heat like a small sun. Push the cold away. The whispering wastes fell silent as I passed. The sand didn't bite, it paved a path for me. The journey had been a battle before. Now the waste felt quiet. The biting wind seemed to part for me. The sand was firm under my boots. It was as if the land knew I had paid the price. Or perhaps the emptiness of the desert just matched the new emptiness inside me. The shard was my only company. Its golden light grew stronger as the sun set. It was beautiful. But every time I looked at it, I tried to reach for the memory of the harvest festival. I knew I had been there. I knew Kael had been there. But I could not feel the joy. It was gray and distant, like looking at a drawing through a foggy window. I walked for days, driven by one thought. Kael is waiting. Finally, I climbed the last hill. Below me lay the hollows. The village looked the same. The huts were brown and dusty. Smoke curled from the chimneys. But to me it looked different. I had left as a desperate sister. I was returning with the cure. I ran down the hill. My boots kicked up dust, but I didn't care. I burst into the village square. Elder Maeve was there, filling a bucket with muddy water from the bottom of the well. She looked up and dropped the bucket. "Thalia," she gasped. "You returned." I didn't stop for breath until I kicked open the door and found Kael lying in a stillness that felt like the end, but I refused to be too late. I placed the pulsing shard over his heart. It was warm against his cold skin. "Come back," I commanded. The shard flared. A beam of pure light erupted upwards, punching through our roof. It shattered the gray sky above. Boom. The first thunder of rain we had heard in years shook the ground. Below me the sickness vanished like smoke. Color flooded Kael's skin. His eyes opened. He looked at me with that specific smile. The smile I had traded away. I saw the joy on his face, but I felt nothing. Just a hollow blank spot in my soul where the warmth used to be. Yet as I held his hand while the rain washed the world clean, I knew I had traded a ghost of the past for his future, and I whispered that we had time to build new memories to replace the one I gave away.